knee-jerk or not, officially done with Hatate now. Great on his day, but those days are few and far between. We can't forgive his inconsistency forever. One strong performance every 5 is not enough to justify his place. When he isn't on it, he's a liability. Sell. Went to bed, woke up next morning. World had gone crazy. It's blowing up, Stephen. How exciting. It's broken the internet. But most people in agreement, generally, reluctantly, kind of going, geez, yeah, right enough. He is not the player he once was under Ange. How much longer can we tolerate this? And obviously it wasn't in response to just the Rangers game. But, he was bad in that. But he's been bad in loads of games. Far, far too many games for my liking. So, well, first of all, what do you think? What do we all think about that tweet? Was that harsh? Is it understandable? Do you agree entirely? Have you been thinking it for some time?
Yeah, I agree entirely, Gav. I think time's up for Hatate. I think he's just shown far too much inconsistency, and you're right. I can't remember the last time he produced a full 90-minute, really good performance in midfield. He's shown flashes here and there, but it's not enough. And in games against Rangers, and I've said this before, he's just a liability. The physicality of the game is just too much for him, and he just disappears. And he was one of the chief protagonists the other night with giving away the ball. And when you give away the ball in midfield and they were just breaking on us at will, so that that can't happen in a game like that. You just can't carry a player who's playing as badly as that. And I saw an interesting comparison on Twitter the other day, comparing him possibly to be the new Olivier Ncham, and I think that's probably valid. I think he's a player like Ncham who's clearly got talent and he clearly can produce it and has produced it in vital games in the past. Particularly, Ncham was really good. Scored goals against Rangers, scored goals in cup finals, scored the winner in Lazio against Lazio in Rome, but just didn't do it often enough. And ultimately, most of the time, looked as if he couldn't be asked and didn't really want to be there. So I think that it's starting to go that way for Hatate. And unless he can turn this around very, very quickly, I don't believe he's worth the place in the team just now. I think he should be on the bench. And he's just not bringing enough to the team at the moment.
Now, David is quite a staunch defender of, I shouldn't use the word staunch, but he's a defender of Hatate. And he points out here, he says Leipzig was one of the best midfield performances in the last 15 years. True, we all know he's capable of brilliance, but is David pointing out the exception that proves the rule here?
Yeah, well, first of all, it wasn't that great against Leipzig. He was all right, and that was another game he had his moments, but that's real hyperbole by saying it's the best performance in 15 years. It really isn't. You only go back to as far as some of Matt O'Reilly's performances even last season. I would say would have been better than that. But I do take the point that he did have moments in the Leipzig game, as many other players did. There was a few good performances that night. But it's only moments. It's only moments, and it never translates into any sort of extended run of form. So for me, no, I think it's time to maybe perhaps look at moving him on.
Well, before we come to the other two for their views, let's enjoy some of the less than enthusiastic responses I got to that tweet. Fuck off. Come on now. Behave yourself. You'll never win anything. Clueless man. Massive overreaction. Sit down, you daft entitled C-word. Bedwetters everywhere in our support. It's 3 points. No trophy was handed out yesterday. Reactionary pish. You're a disgrace. Oh, here's a good one. Post like this, acting like a Hun. That's always good when you're accused of acting like a Hun. And then this Derek saying, I bet you're under 30 years old. I'm 61 and seen plenty of days like that. Follow Celtic home and away. And when that lot won 9 in a row. So, a lot of people not happy when you say things like this.
The first one was the best one.
Short and to the point.
Simplest ones often do cut right to the bone, don't they? That's it on that social media.
Jerry, would you like to add your comments to that list?
Mm-hmm. What, I think you're a cunt? I would never say that of you, Gav.
You're a C-word.
Not on
You're a
air,
C-word,
anyway.
Jerry.
You're a seamer, and you're certainly not 30, under 30, that's for sure. Yeah, I think he needs to be benched. I thought he did all right from what I saw of him last night coming off the bench, but I do think that's where he's. I mean, the one instance when he gave the ball away in the Ibrox game, and he looked like he couldn't even be bothered running back after giving it away. He was 20 yards off the base of the person that he gave the ball away to. So, yeah, I think it's at best it's time to bench him. I've been saying all season that I'd have Bernardo and I'd have McCowan, both of them on the park before I'd have Hatate on the park. So yeah, I agree. I think it's time for him to be benched and possibly. I mean, if we could do him playing better now if we are going to part company with him, because I think if we parted company with him at the end of last season, we'd get significantly more money for him than we will now. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiser?
Yeah, for me, I'm in agreement as well, Gav. Hatate's very frustrating. I think we've had better, more creative players who you would say luxury players. Tom Rodgers springs to mind. For me, he was a far better player than Rio Hatate, but he was another one who turned up from time to time. Yeah, for me, Hatate, I think if we're going to have that player in the midfield, we could have a much more consistent, better performer. I mean, I can stand in midfield and not chase back, and I'll attempt every back heel, flick, twist, and I'll be overhead kicking it through to Kyogo for the halfway line if I don't need to chase back and stuff. It always baffles me how Rio Hatate started as a left back, but never helps Greg Taylor, never drops in and covers, and then why we have a left back inverting through midfield when we have a midfielder who plays left midfield who started at left back. You just have the extra midfielder, please, Brendan. Move to that 3-5-2 or something, give us that extra. But yeah, I'm with you, Gav. I'm all for. I think Hatate's time is running its course. He does come on. I did want him. I wanted a midfield triangle with maybe Bernardo and Engels sitting slightly deeper, and then Hatate being more advanced, or Callum McGregor being more advanced, and bringing in the forward play, which is so good about both their games. But I think if it comes down to that choice, then Hatate would always be on the bench for me. If we're going to stick with a 3-man midfield, he just doesn't cut the mustard. And I think, I don't know if it was Stephen or Jerry that said it there, I'm very sorry. I think if we would have parted company with him last year, we would have got well more money. We would have been looking at 20 odd million compared to now we might be looking at 12, 13, 14, something like that comes in. I see the Celtic board's biting someone's hand off for that.
Yeah, it's a sad situation because at his height, he's absolutely delightful. Some of the stuff he's done for us since he's been in the Celtic shirt. So it's always sad to come to that kind of conclusion.